Before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my stuff. Comment, "I subscribe" below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. When most people think about Malaysian food, they think about the classics: Nasi Lemak, Char Kway Teow, Roti Canai, Laksa. And look, those dishes are extraordinary, and they deserve every bit of the reputation they've earned on the global food stage. But here's what frustrates me every time I see a list of must-try Malaysian foods. The same 10 dishes, every single time. The same 10 dishes that show up in every travel blog, every food guide, every YouTube video about Malaysian cuisine. And while those dishes are genuinely incredible, they represent maybe 5% of what Malaysian food actually is. Because Malaysia has one of the deepest, most diverse, most regional food cultures in the entire world. You could eat a completely different meal 3 times a day for a year in Malaysia and still not exhaust what's available. There are dishes that exist only in specific states, dishes that are only made for specific festivals, dishes that are tied to specific ethnic communities whose food culture has never been exported, documented properly, or discovered by the outside world. Those are the dishes I want to talk about today. Not Nasi Lemak, not Char Kway Teow. The ones that even people who love Malaysian food have never encountered. The ones that will make you understand why people who have actually eaten their way through Malaysia say it is one of the greatest food cultures on earth. Let's get into it. 1. Nasi Kerabu. Let's start with something that genuinely shocks people the first time they see it, because Nasi Kerabu is blue. Not a little bit blue, not a bluish tint, proper, vivid, electric blue rice, the color coming from the petals of the bunga telang flower, also called butterfly pea flower, which is steeped in the water used to cook the rice and turns it this extraordinary cobalt color. Nasi Kerabu is from Kelantan and Terengganu, the east coast states of Peninsular Malaysia, and it is one of the most visually distinctive dishes in all of Southeast Asian cuisine. It is served cold or at room temperature, which is itself unusual, alongside an extraordinary array of accompaniments: raw herbs, torch ginger flower, young mango, various local greens that you mix directly into the rice with your hands, dried coconut flakes, salted egg, a piece of fried or grilled fish, and crucially, budu, a pungent, intensely flavored fermented fish sauce that is specific to this region and that ties the whole dish together with a depth of flavor that is almost impossible to describe to someone who hasn't tasted it. The combination of the cool blue rice, the raw herbs, the fermented sauce, and the fish creates a flavor profile that is simultaneously fresh and complex, light and deeply savory. It is unlike anything else in Malaysian cuisine. It is unlike anything else in the world. You can find it at hawker stalls and small restaurants in Kelantan and Terengganu. In KL, it exists, but you have to look harder. Outside Malaysia, almost nowhere. This is a dish that has never been exported, never been discovered by the international food world, and is sitting in the east coast states of Malaysia waiting for someone to eat it and have their mind completely rearranged. 2. Otak-Otak. The name Otak-Otak means brains in Malay, and it refers not to what it is made from, but to its appearance when it is cooked. A soft, wobbly, speckled gray-brown paste that vaguely resembles the texture of brain matter when it is sliced open. I understand this is not the most appealing description. Stay with me. Otak-Otak is made from fish, typically Spanish mackerel, that is blended with a paste of coconut milk, lemongrass, galangal, chili, turmeric, and kaffir lime leaves, wrapped in either banana leaf or nipa palm leaf, and then either grilled over charcoal or steamed. The result is a fragrant, silky, intensely flavored fish cake that carries the smoke of the charcoal if it's grilled, or the clean freshness of the herbs if it's steamed. The best otak-otak in Malaysia is from Muar in Johor, a town that is almost entirely unknown outside the country, but that food people who know Malaysian cuisine treat as something close to a pilgrimage destination specifically for this dish. Muar's version is denser, spicier, and more aromatic than versions found elsewhere, and the charcoal-grilled parcels served on the street at night with a plastic bag of cold barley water are one of the great small food experiences in Southeast Asia. There is also a Penang version and a Singaporean version, both slightly different in spice profile and texture.
The debate between Johor, Penang, and Singapore Otak-Otak fans is as passionate and unresolvable as any food argument you will find anywhere in the region. Having tried all three is the only reasonable way to form an opinion. I recommend beginning immediately.
3. Asam Pedas. Asam means sour. Pedas means spicy. Asam Pedas is exactly what those two words promise. A sour, fiery, deeply aromatic fish or meat stew that is one of the most powerfully flavored dishes in all of Malaysian cuisine and one of the least known outside the country. The base of Asam Pedas is tamarind, the sourness that gives the dish its name, combined with chili, lemongrass, galangal, turmeric leaf, and a paste of dried shrimp. The most traditional and celebrated versions use Ikan padi, stingray, or Ikan meda, red snapper, as the protein, and the fish absorbs the tamarind broth as it cooks until it becomes something almost impossible to stop eating. Asam Pedas is primarily a Malay and Peranakan dish, and it is particularly associated with Malacca and Johor, where every family and every restaurant has a version they will tell you is the definitive one. The Malacca version tends to be richer and more complex. The Johor version is often hotter and more aggressively sour. Both will make you sweat, make you reach for more, and make you immediately start planning when you can eat it again. What makes Asam Pedas extraordinary beyond its flavor is how completely it captures the idea of Malaysian cooking as the product of trade and cultural exchange. The tamarind came from India. The chilies came from South America via the Portuguese. The cooking techniques are Malay. The result is something that could only exist in Malaysia, a place where centuries of human movement and cultural contact produced a cuisine unlike any other. It is eaten with plain white rice. Always plain white rice. The rice is not a side. The rice is the point, a neutral canvas that lets you eat the Asam Pedas again and again, one spoonful of intensely flavored stew per mouthful of rice, until the bowl is empty and you consider ordering another. 4. Apam Balik. Street food in Malaysia operates on a completely different level to what most of the world considers street food, and Apam Balik, also called Banjian Kui or Martabak Manis, depending on which part of Malaysia or which community you are eating with, is one of the best arguments for that position. Apam Balik is a folded pancake. That description does it almost no justice, but it is technically accurate. A thick, slightly crispy on the outside, gloriously soft and yielding on the inside pancake that is cooked on a round cast iron pan over a gas flame, filled while still hot with a generous layer of crushed peanuts mixed with sugar, creamed corn, and melted butter or margarine, then folded in half and pressed together. There are two schools of Apam bone. The thick version, which is soft, cakey, and substantial, taking several minutes to cook properly over a low flame, and the thin version, crispy, almost cracker-like at the edges, cooked fast over high heat and folded immediately. The thick version is considered the traditional Malay style. The thin version is often associated with the Chinese Malaysian hawker tradition. Both are extraordinary. The correct answer when someone asks which you prefer is both, one of each, eaten standing at the stall while they are still warm. You will find Apam Balik at night markets, at morning markets, at roadside stalls throughout Malaysia. It costs almost nothing. It is one of the most comforting things you will eat in your life, and outside of Malaysia and a few neighboring countries, it is almost completely unknown. The international food world has spent years celebrating croissants and sourdough and brioche, while this folded peanut butter pancake has been quietly being perfected at Malaysian roadside stalls for generations. This is an injustice that can only be corrected by going to Malaysia and eating one immediately. 4. Nasi Dagang. If Nasi Dagang is the national dish of Peninsular Malaysia, Nasi Dagang is the national dish of the East Coast, and the fact that it is almost completely unknown outside Kelantan and Terengganu is one of Malaysian food's greatest unsolved mysteries. Nasi Dagang is glutinous rice, specifically a combination of regular white rice and glutinous rice steamed together, cooked in coconut milk with fenugreek seeds, shallots, and ginger, then served with a rich, dark orange fish curry made from tuna and a complex spice paste, alongside hard-boiled egg, pickled vegetables, and fried coconut. The rice itself is the first revelation. The combination of regular and glutinous rice creates a texture that is both firm and slightly sticky, each grain separate but with a subtle chewiness that carries the coconut milk flavor in a way that plain rice cannot. The fenugreek seeds add a faint bitterness that cuts through the richness of the coconut, and the tuna curry, dark, intensely spiced, slow-cooked until the oil separates in the flavor's concentrate, is one of the great fish dishes in Southeast Asian cuisine. Nasi Dagang is traditionally a breakfast dish on the East Coast.
The idea of eating a rich coconut rice with a deep tuna curry at 7 a.m. sounds alarming to someone raised on cereal or toast. After the first mouthful of nasi dagang, it sounds like the only reasonable way to start a day. The combination of complex carbohydrates, protein, fat, and aromatic spice in a single bowl is genuinely the most perfectly engineered breakfast food I have encountered anywhere in the world, and I will not be taking questions.
6. Ikan Bakar. The translation of Ikan Bakar is simply grilled fish. And if you let that translation set your expectations, you will be completely unprepared for what you are actually about to eat. Ikan Bakar is not grilled fish in any sense that the phrase implies in most of the world. It is fish, whole fish, typically stingray, mackerel, or red snapper, coated in a thick, deeply aromatic paste of chili, turmeric, lemongrass, galangal, belacan, and various other spices depending on the cook and the region, then wrapped in banana leaf and grilled over a charcoal fire until the outside is blackened and smoky and the fish inside has absorbed every layer of the marinade. The result is something that exists in the space between grilled and braised. The fish is cooked through by the gentle heat trapped inside the banana leaf while the outside chars and smokes, and the spice paste penetrates every part of the fish in a way that direct heat alone could never achieve. It is served with a squeeze of lime, a bowl of white rice, and a sambal belacan, a raw chili and fermented shrimp paste condiment that is among the most aggressively flavored accompaniments in Southeast Asian cooking. The best ikan bakar in Malaysia is eaten at the seafood restaurants that line the beaches and fishing villages of the East Coast and the coastal towns of Penang, Langkawi, and Johor. You point to the fish you want from an ice display, you choose your size, you choose your marinade, and then you wait 20 minutes and eat the best grilled fish of your life at a plastic table on a beach with your feet in the sand and a cold drink in your hand. This is what eating is supposed to be. 7. Bubur Lambuk. There are foods that nourish the body, and then there are foods that nourish something else, something harder to name. Bubur Lambuk is the second kind. Bubur Lambuk is a rice porridge, a congee, but a Malaysian version so layered and aromatic and deeply spiced that calling it porridge feels like an insult. It is made by cooking rice with beef or chicken broth until it breaks down completely into a thick, silky consistency, then adding whole spices, cinnamon, cardamom, star anise, cloves, and ground spices including coriander, cumin, and a generous amount of ginger, and finishing it with thin slices of beef or chicken, fried shallots, fresh coriander and mint, a drizzle of ghee, and a squeeze of lime. The result is something that sits at the intersection of Malay and Indian culinary traditions, warming and deeply aromatic in the way of Indian spiced rice dishes, but with the clean, restorative quality of a great Southeast Asian congee. It is one of the most comforting things you can eat anywhere in the world. What makes Bubur Lambuk culturally significant beyond its flavor is its relationship with Ramadan. During the holy month of fasting, mosques across Malaysia, particularly the famous Masjid India Mosque in Kuala Lumpur, distribute free Bubur Lambuk to the public every evening before the breaking of the fast. The recipe is guarded fiercely, passed between generations of mosque cooks, and the queues for the KL version stretch around the block every evening of Ramadan. It is an act of community, of generosity, and of cultural continuity, ladled out from enormous pots into polystyrene cups and distributed to anyone who comes. If you happen to be in Malaysia during Ramadan, join the queue. You will receive a cup of porridge that is the product of a recipe older than anyone alive, made by people who have been making it their entire lives, given to you freely by a community that wants you to eat well. That is a remarkable thing. Do not miss it. 8. Kerabu Mangga. Malaysian salads are a category that the world has almost entirely missed, and Kerabu Mangga, raw green mango salad, is the best entry point into understanding why. Kerabu is the Malay term for a category of raw or lightly blanched herb and vegetable salads dressed with bold, flavor-forward sauces. There are dozens of variations: kerabu made from winged beans, from banana blossom, from raw fish, from young jackfruit. But Kerabu Mangga, made from thinly julienned green mango, is the one that consistently converts people who didn't think they were interested in a salad.
Green mango is unripe mango, firm, crunchy, aggressively sour in a way that ripe mango is not, and with almost no sweetness. It is julienned finely, tossed with shredded dried coconut that has been toasted until golden, fresh chili, fried shallots, a generous amount of belacan, fish sauce, lime juice, and sugar in a balance that hits every receptor simultaneously: sour, sweet, salty, spicy, and umami all at once. What Kerabu Mangga does is something that the best versions of Southeast Asian food always does. It uses the sourness of raw fruit to create a freshness and brightness that cuts through the heat and the richness of everything around it. It is cooling and fiery simultaneously. It is simple in its ingredients and complex in its effect. And it is the kind of dish that you eat alongside a rich curry or a fatty grilled fish and suddenly understand why the entire meal makes sense. Because the Kerabu Mangga is doing the work of balancing everything else table.
9. Cendol. Every country that uses sugar has a great dessert. Malaysia's great dessert is cendol, and it is extraordinary enough that I am going to spend a moment explaining why it deserves more global recognition than it currently has. Cendol is built in layers in a bowl or a cup. First, shaved ice, or crushed ice, as the base. Then, pandan-flavored rice flour jelly, the cendol itself, which is squeezed through a mold to create soft, worm-shaped, bright green strands with a faintly grassy, floral flavor from the pandan leaf. Then, red kidney beans, or red azuki beans, creamy and slightly sweet. Then, a generous pour of thick coconut milk, fresh, rich, slightly sweet. And finally, the crowning element, gula melaka, which is palm sugar syrup, deep brown and almost treacly, with a complex caramel flavor that has notes of toffee and smoke that refined white sugar can never replicate. The eating of cendol is an act of deliberate assembly. You mix it yourself at the table, combining the cold shaved ice with the coconut milk, pressing the green jelly strands into the ice, and letting the gula melaka syrup run through everything and pool at the bottom, where the last spoonful, a concentrated hit of palm sugar and coconut milk mixed with the melted ice, is the best single spoonful in the bowl. The best cendol in Malaysia is a subject of debate as fierce as any other Malaysian food argument. Penang has the most celebrated version, served from specific roadside stalls that have been trading for decades and that locals will direct you to with the certainty of people pointing you towards a national monument. The Penang version uses particularly good gula melaka and a coconut milk that is thicker and richer than versions found elsewhere. It is worth a trip to Penang on its own. Cendol exists in various forms across Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, in Singapore, in Thailand. But the Malaysian version, built on gula melaka and fresh coconut milk, is the definitive one. It is the version that makes you understand what palm sugar is actually capable of. It is one of the great desserts of the world, and the world largely does not know it exists. 10. Laksa Sarawak. You may know laksa. If you have spent any time with Malaysian food, you have probably tried curry laksa or Penang Asam laksa, both magnificent in their own way. But Sarawak laksa, from the state of Sarawak on the island of Borneo, is something else entirely. And the food writer Anthony Bourdain, a man who ate everything and was not easily impressed, called it the breakfast of gods. Sarawak laksa is built on a broth that starts with a sambal made from dried shrimp paste, lemongrass, galangal, and a complex spice paste, which is then diluted with coconut milk and chicken broth and brought to a point of perfect balance between the aromatic spice paste and the clean richness of the coconut. The result is neither curry nor soup, but something in between, lighter than a curry, more complex than a broth, warm and fragrant and deeply satisfying. Into this broth go thin rice vermicelli noodles, bean sprouts, omelet strips, poached chicken, prawns, and a garnish of fresh coriander and a wedge of lime. It is a breakfast dish meant to be eaten in the morning at kopitiams and hawker stalls across Kuching, the capital of Sarawak, and it is the dish that the people of Kuching are most fiercely proud of in a city that has a great deal to be proud of culinarily. The reason Sarawak laksa is on this list of things the world has never heard of is geography. Sarawak is on Borneo. Most visitors to Malaysia never make it to Borneo. Most of the Malaysian food that gets exported and talked about internationally comes from peninsular Malaysia, from KL, from Penang, from Malacca.
Sarawak's extraordinary food culture exists in a kind of geographic isolation that has kept it both perfectly preserved and almost completely unknown to the outside world. Go to Kuching. This is the advice. Fly to Kuching, check into a guest house, go to a kopi tom at 7 in the morning, order a bowl of Sarawak laksa with a glass of white coffee, and eat it while the city wakes up around you. You will understand immediately why Anthony Bourdain said what he said, and you will wonder, as I have wondered, why more people are not making this trip. Malaysian food is one of the great unsolved problems of the global food world. A cuisine of extraordinary depth, extraordinary diversity, and extraordinary flavor that has never received the international recognition it deserves, partly because of geography, partly because of marketing, and partly because the people who make Malaysian food are often too busy perfecting their recipes to worry about telling the world how good they are. Every dish in this video has been made by someone's grandmother, refined over generations, tied to a specific place and a specific culture and a specific set of ingredients that exist nowhere else in exactly the same combination. That is what great regional food is. That is what Malaysian food is. So the next time someone tells you they've tried Malaysian food because they've had nasi lemak at an airport, be kind, and then send them this video. If this made you hungry, which it should have, hit the like button, subscribe for more food and travel content from across Asia, and drop a comment below. Which dish are you most desperate to try? Have you eaten any of these? Tell me your story. I read everything. Until next time, eat well, travel far, and I'll see you in the next